On the day I got fired, my boss leaned in and asked, "Would you mind signing a check for $1 million?" At 3:47 p.m., I was let go with all the grace of a budget cut. It started in a beige HR office that smelled like recycled air and disinfectant wipes. Dana, the HR manager, handed me a white envelope with a rehearsed smile. "We appreciate your contributions, Elliot. Unfortunately, your position is being eliminated. Effective immediately." My vision tunneled. I didn't speak, just stared at the letter inside, words like streamlining, restructuring, unforeseen market conditions. I'd written some of those phrases myself during previous rounds of layoffs. Now they were pointed at me. 2 weeks ago, I was leading a cross-functional team on a cybersecurity rollout. Last week, I presented a risk model that saved the company nearly $400,000. This morning, I got a performance review with the word exceptional. And now? A cardboard box and a security escort. I gathered my things, my thermos, a photo of my dog, 3 notebooks, and a plant that had somehow outlived 4 interns. Every step toward the elevator felt heavier than the last. In the lobby, my coworkers avoided eye contact like I had the plague. And then, as I reached the exit turnstile, a voice cut through the silence. "Elliot." I turned. Calvin Bryson, founder, CEO, the man behind the logo, a ghost to most of us. He hadn't spoken to me in person since my first week, 3 years ago. "Come with me," he said. No explanation. No small talk. Just a brisk walk to a private elevator, past the floors where the air smelled like burnt coffee and budget panic. We shot up to the 33rd floor, an entire level dedicated to the executive suite. Bryson's domain. The hallway was dead silent. Everything gleamed. Chrome fixtures. Polished stone. Lighting that made you feel either expensive or exposed. He opened a door to a glass-walled boardroom. Inside, a checkbook on the table. Nothing else. "Have a seat," he said. I didn't. I stood. He opened the checkbook. Clicked a Montblanc pen. "Would you mind signing a check for $1 million?" The question sucker-punched me. "Excuse me." He didn't look up. "You've just been fired, right?" "You signed the order." "Correct. And now I'm offering you the chance to sign something else." "What am I paying for?" He closed the checkbook and finally looked me in the eye. "A future. But only if you're bold enough to buy it." That's when it hit me. This wasn't the end of my job. It was the beginning of a game I didn't know I'd been playing. That was all I could manage to say. I stood frozen, staring at the checkbook on the glass table like it might catch fire. Behind it, Bryson stood completely still, his posture easy, like we were discussing lunch plans and not. Whatever this was. "You just fired me," I repeated, my voice sounding flatter than I intended. He smiled, thin, knowing. "And you handled it better than most." That's the point. The boardroom felt disconnected from reality. Outside, New York glittered in early twilight. But inside, my world had tipped sideways. "That termination letter," he said, casually buttoning his blazer. "A formality. A test." "A test of what?" I asked. He leaned against the edge of the table. "I needed to know how you respond to failure. Not the hypothetical kind. Real. Personal. With weight. You passed." My pulse ticked in my throat. "Passed what?" He tapped the checkbook with one finger. "There's a project I'm launching off the grid. Not under the company's umbrella. Confidential, high impact, and very risky. I've been scouting someone to co-lead it with me. Not just work for me. Build it with me." I shook my head, still processing. "So what? You fire me, then offer me a mystery gig with $1 million buy-in." "Exactly. I don't have $1 million. He raised an eyebrow. "Don't lie, Elliot. I know about the portfolio your uncle left you." My stomach sank. "You had me investigated." He didn't blink. "I had everyone on the short list vetted. You made it to the final 2. Then I saw how you handled layoffs, deadlines, pressure. But I still didn't know what you'd do when the floor vanished. Now I do." I walked toward the window, trying to slow my breath. Below, taxis and buses moved like a bloodstream through the arteries of the city. "You're asking me to walk away from a career to join something I know nothing about." "That's not what I'm asking," he replied. "I'm offering you the chance to own something. Not build someone else's dream. Build your own. With me." He stepped closer, lowered his voice. "We're developing a secure quantum communications channel. Military grade. Unbreakable. If it works, we'll be licensing it to every nation, every multinational. You won't need a job ever again." I turned to face him. "And if it fails?" He smiled wider. "Then we'll go down swinging. And still be richer than most." I exhaled. The room was silent. Even the hum of the city felt far away. Why me? I asked again, quietly. He paused, then said something I'll never forget. Because most people wait for a ladder. You? You built one out of broken rails and still climbed. I need that. I stared down at the checkbook. $1 million. A secret project. A CEO with a god complex. And me, one bad decision away from bankruptcy, or something bigger than I'd ever imagined. And just like that, the pen was in my hand. My signature bled across the paper like a quiet betrayal. There it was. $1 million, gone with the flick of a pen. No board meeting, no lawyers. Just me, a billionaire with a god complex, and a checkbook heavier than my sense of reason. Bryson tore the slip, folded it, and placed it in his jacket pocket like it was a grocery receipt. Then, without ceremony, he pulled out a small, nondescript black phone and slid it across the table. Your life, your real life starts now, he said. Power it on. I picked it up. No brand. No apps. Just one button. This phone only connects to me and one other person. You'll meet her soon. Her. Operations lead. Codename Ren. You'll like her. She has less patience for BS than even I do. I turned the phone over in my hand. It felt cold. Heavier than it should. Not just in weight, in consequence. What exactly have I just bought into? I asked. He leaned forward, his fingers steepled. You've joined something that doesn't exist. Not on paper. Not in digital traces. Not even in the company's books. We call it Phantom. It's a shadow cell. A startup wrapped in secrecy. And if what we're building works, it changes global communication security forever. I swallowed hard. And if it fails? He smiled without warmth. Then no one will know we existed. Not even your accountant. He stood and walked to the massive windows, the skyline throwing shadows across his suit. We have 3 months to build a working prototype, he said. You'll get access to a lab, a hand-picked team, and full discretion. You answered to me. No one else. Why 3 months? Because that's when the NSA contract cycle renews. And our biggest competitor, Echelon Group, already has a foot in the door. If we don't beat them to the proof of concept stage, Phantom gets buried. Forever. I rubbed my temples, already feeling the pressure snake through my skull. Where's the lab? Bryson glanced at his watch. Your ride's downstairs. Don't pack a bag. Everything's waiting. And Ren. She'll meet you at the site. She's already been briefed. As I reached for my coat, he said one last thing. Oh, and Elliot? You're dead. I froze. Excuse me. He nodded. Your digital footprint, your corporate identity, even your LinkedIn, wiped within the hour. To build Phantom, you have to disappear. That's the only way this works. He handed me a manila envelope. Inside were a passport, IDs, credit cards, all in a different name. Welcome to your second life. Let's see if you earn it. Then he turned and walked out, leaving me in a glass box suspended above Manhattan, holding a burner phone, a false identity, and the weight of a decision I couldn't undo. My ride was a matte black SUV with tinted windows and no license plates. The driver didn't speak, just handed me a blindfold and a piece of gum. Really? I muttered. Chew. Helps with the pressure drop. Pressure drop? The drive felt like a descent into another life. 20 minutes in, we hit a sharp turn, and the air shifted, colder, stale, industrial. Somewhere underground. The SUV stopped. I heard a hydraulic hiss, a metal door sliding open. The driver nudged my shoulder. Out. I stepped into what looked like a delivery bay, dimly lit and echoing like a parking garage. My blindfold came off. In front of me, a sign read, Spin Cycle Wash and Fold. A laundromat. I nearly laughed, until the manhole behind the dryers opened like something from a spy film. Stairs led down into silence. At the bottom was a biometric scanner. I pressed my palm to the glass. It beeped. Then a voice, clipped, female, came from an overhead speaker. You're late. A steel door hissed open. I walked through, into a wide corridor of concrete and white LED strips. The floor was spotless. The walls buzzed with embedded tech. And there she was. Ren. Shorter than I expected. Dark ponytail. Combat boots. Eyes that looked like they'd been through wars I couldn't pronounce. And a gun. Raised. Name, she said. Elliot. Ford. Ford Keller. She stepped forward, scanned my face with a device the size of a lipstick tube, then lowered the gun. Next time you flinch, I pull the trigger. Standard policy. Welcome to Phantom. I exhaled. Glad we're starting with trust. Trust is earned, she said. And yours is overdrawn. Come. She led me through the corridor, past glass rooms where people worked silently behind computers, soldering boards, coding systems I didn't recognize. No one spoke. No one looked up. What is this place? I whispered. Home, Ren said. To the last firewall between privacy and extinction. She pushed open a sliding door. Inside, a central lab with a U-shaped workstation, 6 monitors, and a wall-to-wall holographic display of satellite traffic. This is your zone, she said. Bryson thinks you're brilliant. I think you're a liability. Great. We're off to a flying start. She didn't smile. We have 72 hours to validate the first node. If you fail, I shut it down. Shut what down? You. This. All of it. We're ghosts, Ford. If you make noise, we disappear. Then she tossed me a lanyard. It had one word on it. Alpha. You're in. Now prove you should be. Her voice was steady, but something in her eyes betrayed the pressure. The countdown started the moment you signed that check, she said, dropping a flash drive onto the desk in front of me. It clattered like a starting pistol. NSA has a satellite comms relay set to go live in 83 hours. Our job is to beat them to their own encryption protocol and force a red flag. If we don't. She trailed off, then looked me dead in the eyes. They greenlight a network that's already compromised. I blinked. Compromised how? Ren tapped the drive. Backdoor keys. Inserted upstream. Buried in code the NSA didn't write. The agency doesn't even know it's been hijacked. But we traced packet telemetry from the beta test. The signature's Chinese. Possibly third party. My stomach turned. You're saying someone's already inside? I'm saying we're playing chicken with a satellite uplink that could expose every secure government comm line in the Western Hemisphere. I plugged the drive into the lab terminal. Instantly, encrypted files flooded the screen, packet structures, binary maps, spectral signatures. This is raw-level intrusion code, I whispered. It's beautiful and terrifying. Ren's mouth twitched into something that might have been a smile. Now you see why you're here. We need a new signal obfuscation stack. Something quantum shifted. Impossible to brute force. In 3 days? That's insane. That's phantom. For the next 6 hours, we didn't speak unless it was code-related. The lab became our bunker, white noise, blue light, keyboards rattling like machine guns. I started to see Ren differently. Her posture never slouched. Her mind worked like mine, pattern-focused, recursive. And yet, there was something harder in her. Like she didn't just build firewalls. She lived behind them. Around midnight, I finally asked, why you? Why this? She didn't look up. I was NSA once. Field cryptologist. 13 years. I built the tools they now pretend don't exist. Then I found out one of them was used to disappear 6 journalists overseas. Not military. Civilians. I sat back. They used her code to kill people? She finally looked at me. Her eyes were dry, but the pain in them was surgical. I tried to expose it. They called me unstable. Cleared me out. Gave me a desk job in Maryland. I quit and went dark. And Bryson found you? She nodded. He was the only one who didn't ask if I was crazy. He just asked what I needed to make sure it never happened again. The room was quiet for a moment. Then my terminal chimed. We have a problem, I said. Ren stood immediately. What kind? I pointed to the screen. One of the relay nodes we were tracking just pinged back. It's moving. She frowned. Satellites don't move like that. Exactly. That's not a satellite. That's a plane. Military grade. East Coast. Heading inland. Ren's voice dropped to a whisper. They're accelerating the test. Someone knows we're close. The clock in the corner ticked down. 72 hours, 31 minutes, and 7 seconds. The alarm sounded like a scream in digital. Red lights flared across the corridor outside the lab. Security shutters slammed down. Somewhere in the distance, a klaxon howled, low and pulsing. Ren snapped into motion like she'd been trained for this moment her whole life. Secure the core, she barked, already punching in override codes at the wall panel. I jumped from my terminal, heart pounding. What happened? She didn't look back. Unauthorized access attempt through the east hatch. Physical breach. How did they find us? They didn't. Someone let them in. That sentence froze me. She turned sharply, gun drawn, not toward the door. Toward me. I need to know who you talked to, she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was lethal. I raised my hands, stunned. No one. I haven't contacted anyone. Not since I got here. Phone. I pulled the burner from my pocket and tossed it onto the desk. She snatched it, turned it off, removed the SIM. Her fingers moved like muscle memory. Efficient. Scary. What is this, Ren? You think I sold us out already? I think Phantom has zero margin for error. And I think trust is currency. Right now, yours is near bankruptcy. Before I could answer, her earpiece crackled. Alpha chamber secure. No visual on breach point. Repeat. No contact. Ren relaxed just slightly. Lowered the gun but didn't holster it. She turned to the monitors, typing rapidly. Security feeds filled the screens, angles of the facility's outer perimeter, thermal scans, access logs. Nothing moved. Could have been a probe, I said. A decoy to test response time. Or a message, she muttered. Then she pointed to the door. Backup vault. Move. Now. She led me into a chamber 2 levels down, concrete, sealed, no outside comms. Inside, a mirrored glass table with only 2 chairs and a single folder in the center. She slid it to me. Read. Then decide how far you're willing to go. I opened it. Pages of blacked-out intelligence briefings. A photo of a man in fatigues, face partially obscured. GPS coordinates. A memo stamped urgent action. What is this? Our mole. The source who leaked the NSA breach logs. He's gone dark. We need to find him before the people who built the backdoor do. I thought this was a lab op code, not cloak and dagger. She looked straight through me. Phantom isn't just code. It's survival. If you're not willing to put boots on the ground, Elliot, this is where your job ends. And just like that, the line between engineer and operative blurred, and I had to choose what kind of man I really was. They sent me in with a fake name, a burner passport, and a biometric override chip hidden in a coffee lid. I landed in Denver under the name Grant Halstead. Ren briefed me through a one-way comm link the entire flight. His last ping was from a safe house south of Boulder, she said. You'll find him, or what's left of him. But whatever you do, don't use local networks. They'll be watching. When I reached the coordinates, the safe house was exactly what you'd expect from a man who knew how to disappear. Remote, buried under pine canopy, reinforced glass with blackout paint, motion-activated floodlights. All off. I knew before stepping inside that I was already too late. The door hung slightly open. No signs of forced entry. Just quiet. Inside, the place had been stripped. No photos, no food, no scent of human life. Except for the body in the chair. He sat slumped, eyes open, lips slightly parted. A bullet through the head, no blood spatter. Silencer. On the floor next to him, a burner phone. Still warm. My pulse raced. I grabbed it, heart pounding, and turned it on. The lock screen showed a notification, one unsent message. I opened it. To Phantom 01. Subject, wrong eyes. Message. They know. Access compromised. It's not China. It's coming from inside. Someone in Bryson's inner ring. Full control imminent. Kill switch needed. Then, attached, a photo. Blurry, taken through glass. 2 men in suits, one slightly obscured. The other? Calvin Bryson. My lungs emptied. Before I could process it, a crack echoed outside, and the window next to me exploded inward. I hit the floor, glass slicing across my arm. Another shot rang out, and the wall behind me shattered. Silencer. Suppressed, but close. I scrambled behind the table, yanked the phone's battery, shoved it in my boot. Then I ran. Out the back, through the trees, no path, no plan. Bullets punched through bark. I heard movement fast, trained. Whoever this was, they weren't amateurs. I ducked into a dried-out creek bed, heart hammering, crawling through mud and pine needles until I found an overhang. I curled beneath it, fists clenched around the phone. When the sounds faded, I didn't move. Not for minutes. Not until the comm link crackled in my ear. Elliot. Ren's voice. Urgent. Extraction inbound. What happened? I whispered. The source is dead. But he left us something. And Ren. Yeah. Bryson's not who we think he is. Back at the lab, I didn't say a word until the blast doors sealed behind me. Ren took one look at my shredded jacket, the cuts on my arms, the dried blood, and tossed me a med kit without flinching. You get it? She asked. I nodded. He's dead. Executed. But he left a message. And a photo. I slid the phone across the table. Battery reinstalled. Screen unlocked. The draft message glowed in the sterile light. Ren read it, silent. Then her jaw tightened. She swiped to the photo. Bryson. Standing beside another man, whose face was turned just enough to avoid full view. The timestamp was just 3 days old. That's inside Bryson's private conference suite, Ren muttered. I've only ever been there twice. Both times, I was searched. She stared at the screen longer than I thought she would. Then she whispered, like the words burned. I knew he was hiding something. But not this. What do we do now? I asked. She looked up. Cold. Resolved. We take down Bryson. He owns Phantom. No. He owns the shell. We built the engine. And if he's using this to reroute global security through a double-blind shell company, he's not a visionary. He's a traitor. The air crackled between us. We have less than 60 hours, I said. If we expose this wrong, we go down as the traitors. Then we expose it right. Through his own system. She opened a secure line on the terminal, routed through 5 proxies, and began tracing internal pathways in Phantom's blacknet logs. Bryson kept a mirror vault of all comm traffic, she said. Encrypted, nested. He thought it was untraceable, but I buried a flaw in the compression packet. Only I know where. I watched her fingers fly. If we can access that mirror, we get proof. Enough to fry him. The next 6 hours were a blur of code, fragments, voice signatures, neural heuristics. We didn't eat. We didn't speak, except for instructions. And at 3:12 a.m., we found it. A full audio file. Bryson's voice. Deploy the proxy keys. Once Phantom reroutes traffic through our partner shell, no one will question the source. If Keller or Rin get too close, disappear them. Rin froze. He knew, I said. He planned for this. And he used your name. Rin stood. We finish this tomorrow. On stage. In front of his board. We burn him with his own fire. I looked at the clock. 53 hours left. The elevator ride to the 33rd floor felt longer than ever. Rin stood beside me, dressed in a tailored black blazer, hair slicked back, expression unreadable. Her lanyard identified her as an external consultant. Mine? A simple gold pin, Phantom's insignia, engraved with an encrypted signature. You're sure the board will be there? I asked. Monthly strategy review. They think they're discussing funding allocations, she replied. They don't know they're about to meet the real product. When the doors opened, we were met with polite nods and suspicious glances. Phantom operatives didn't usually walk into the light. The boardroom had 12 seats. 10 were filled. Bryson sat at the head, crisp suit, calm eyes, the same polished mask I'd once admired. Elliot, he said, surprised but not rattled. You've resurfaced. I was told you were on silent recon. I walked to the end of the table. Laid a small drive beside the projector. I was. It led me here. Ren remained at the back, arms crossed. Bryson leaned back. What is this? A demo? A pitch? You're not cleared for. I'm not asking for clearance. I'm giving the board clarity. I inserted the drive. The screen behind him flickered to life. An audio waveform appeared. What are you doing? He asked, voice low. I looked him in the eye, letting them hear you. Then I hit play. Bryson's voice filled the room. Cold, calculating, recorded. Deploy the proxy keys. Once Phantom reroutes traffic through our partner shell, no one will question the source. If Keller or Rin get too close, disappear them. Gasps. A chair scraped. One board member stood. Bryson laughed once, dry and bitter. You don't have the guts to pull this off. That recording won't stand. You'll be discredited, sued, blacklisted. I stepped forward. We already uploaded it. 5 separate nodes. Immutable chain. Your empire? Already bleeding. He looked to Ren. And you? Thought I saved you. Gave you purpose. She met his gaze. You gave me a target. The board erupted. Phones came out. Legal counsel was summoned. And Bryson, Calvin Bryson, the man who fired me as a test, stood slowly, straightened his cuffs, and whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. You better build something better than me, Elliot, or history will remember you as the man who burned a genius. I didn't flinch. Let them remember I built it honest. Security arrived. Bryson didn't resist, just smiled. As they escorted him out, he turned one last time. You'll miss me. Maybe. But I was finally done being someone's shadow. 2 weeks later, Phantom was quiet. Not dead. Just silent. A different kind of pulse. The board froze Bryson's assets, restructured the top brass, and handed interim control to a legal firewall until the dust settled. Half the building's staff had been sent on leave. The other half pretended they didn't know what had just happened. But Phantom, Ren, and I had locked it down. She leaned against the glass wall of the clean lab, arms crossed, watching the satellite feeds. No makeup, no weapon today. Just a tired woman who'd fought her way out of someone else's story. You realize if we go public, we kill it, she said. Then we don't go public. We go foundational. Meaning? I brought up a schematic on the wall display, not just for Phantom Tech, but for a decentralized, open-source, encrypted protocol that would outlive any government contract. We release it, I said. Not for profit. For permanence. Ren raised an eyebrow. You're saying we ghost ourselves. On purpose. We disappear. But the idea doesn't. You think truth wins. I think truth survives longer than money. And right now, survival is the only win I care about. She was quiet. Then, I'd follow that. I turned to her. Then let's build it. No shareholders. No names. No more kings. She stepped beside me, tapped the schematic. Call it GhostNet. I smiled. By morning, Phantom's core was cloned onto 3 offshore vault servers. The original was wiped, the mirrors scattered. Ren and I left the lab with nothing but what we carried. 2 drives and a plan no one could track. As we crossed into daylight for the first time in weeks, I asked her, where to? She said, wherever the next lie needs burning. We walked toward the street. No fanfare. No press. Just 2 people who once worked for an empire, now building something the empire could never own. And maybe that's what freedom really is. Not the money, not the name, but the choice to walk away from power and still choose purpose.